felt lost. But yeah, that's also a relief.
So what was your relationship then with your family at home after that happened?
I only went back to them probably about a year later.
Yes.
But actually, my relationship with my family was a lot lighter, and has continued to be even lighter and lighter. So we had quite a few problems especially when I was a teenager. A lot of arguing and all of that. And now they're my closest friends. Yeah, there's a lot of there's no more kind of trying to change each other or any of that. It's just a kind of appreciating of the differences.
Yeah. So after this realization, did your life change? How did you start seeing life? How did you start seeing other people?
It's very difficult to say, really, because it didn't change from one day to the next.
Yeah.
I'd say also after that recognition, I was still quite confused for a while with the question of how do I live this?
That's right.
Yeah. What do I do now?
Yes.
Because my motivation for doing anything before then had been to find myself.
Yes. So there was still, in this moment, there was still a personality there, or
a question mark, maybe.
More identified with, something which is frightened and confused, and at the same time...
Less so frightened and confused, because there was a lot of relief.
Yes.
And no more searching.
Yes.
Or very, very little for searching, maybe.
Yeah.
But a kind of question of where do I go, even? I was in India.
Yeah.
And I came to India to search.
Yeah.
Now what? I found what I was looking for, but where do I even go?
Yes.
So that question of, okay, I went to Australia from there. But what do I do in Australia? Do I just have fun? Do I work? What am I doing it for? What's my purpose? All these questions of thought, trying to find a reference point in nothing, because there was not a reference point. But the questions in thought were still coming up.
Yes. Yeah.
And there was no answer. There is still no answer to any of those questions.
And are these questions still coming up?
No, not really. Not in the same way, no.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're absolutely welcome to come up.
Yeah.
But it's clear that there's never an answer.
Yeah.
Whereas perhaps at that time there was some confusion, maybe waiting for an answer, hoping maybe there would be an answer. But now it's clear that there is never an answer.
So after that, a process of integration started. Yeah, where you started to integrate your experience. And how did you do that?
I didn't, in a way. I mean, in a way, who I am just was sitting back, noticing it all happen, and as it does right now. So it didn't do it. I mean, I didn't do anything, but I notice that actually there's a kind of a disintegration, not so much an integration, not a doing,
yes,
but a noticing things just falling apart more and more.
Yes.
Or another way of saying it, you could say that thought comes up and is more and more seen for what it is. So, for example, those questions of where should I go, what should I do, would come up and be seen as just a question, just a thought, that clearly there's never an answer, and they just fall away, and don't come up as much, less and less, until there's not much questioning at all. Mm-hmm. So you could say that this is the kind of integration or living as that more and more.
So in this time, let's say, of integration, did you live a very peaceful, relaxed, still life?
In some
because
ways.
I cannot imagine, when living a busy life and being occupied with children and work, that, you know, being aware of all of thoughts arising and not identify with it, it's so automatic.
Yeah, I think a lot of that did still go on at that time, and some confusion here and there. But I was travelling for a while, so I had a lot of free time.
Yeah.
But then I came back to London,
Yes.
and I was working in a job.
Yeah.
And I somehow it just went on, but there was still some kind of confusion about some experiences being what should be, like a peaceful experience being that's the right experience, and experiences of thought or emotion or depression or pain, those are the ones that shouldn't be. And there was some confusion about which experiences should and shouldn't be.
You should be a saint.
I should be a saint, exactly. And if I'm not, then there's something still missing.
Yes, it's not full enlightenment.
Yeah, and especially since I'd started to hear more and more about enlightenment, awakening, I'd started to read the books, Big Trouble.
Yeah.
But and I remember there was one night when I went out for dinner with some friends, and we were talking about awakening, and one friend accused me of when I was talking about awakening, of being arrogant. And immediately I assumed they must be right, and I thought, I must be arrogant, how terrible of me. And I went home, and I was spinning with these ideas of, how arrogant I am. And am I arrogant? What's arrogant? Who's arrogant? All these questions.
Yeah.
I just drove myself mad the whole night. I couldn't sleep thinking about it, about what is arrogance and who. And at a certain point in the early hours of the morning, there was some kind of realization that it is all the same. There's no one who could be arrogant or humble or good or bad or a saint or a devil or whatever, good, bad, wrong, right, wrong. It's all the same, and all those concepts of good and bad and right and wrong and different experiences are just thought. And there's no one thought that is better than any other. It's all just what is happening. So that was, you could say, like a even more of a relaxation.